Everyone, this is a final particle tutorial, and this is just kind of an overview of making particles and some of my workflow. I'm going to show you how we made the sun, or some of the suns in Lost Orbit, or just at least some of the ideas behind making them. And they're not very complicated, but I'll kind of show you what we did. So we started off with spheres, just regular spheres. So we'll make ourselves a sphere. Now, what I always like to do when I make particles or anything else, they're never going to look the same in editor as they do in the game. So I make sure that I position my stuff in front of the camera, right? Typically, you want to work in your actual work scene with whatever background you're using, just so you kind of get the feel and the flow of what that's going to look like. So I might just change my background to something else. Let me just make my own skybox here. Material, let's do a skybox, just do a procedural one. And we'll just do something spacey. Right, something fairly dark, fairly blue. Let's play around with some atmosphere, exposure. I want it to be a little bit more interesting, so yeah, we go crazy bananas on there. Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's do some like purples or something. And whatever, it's not quite space, but again, this is better than just gray. So we have our sphere. Let me get my I have my hierarchy and stuff in here. Okay, so I'm going to just make a material for my sunlight here. Get my project view down here for you guys. So I'm just going to duplicate a material. Oops, I need that gloss map. Different tutorial. So I'm just going to throw this on the sunlight or on the sun. So let's start off with a simple one here. I don't know if that's actually on there. Oh, it's probably because I have a procedural skybox on there. It doesn't like that. So let's look at the game view. So let's make this a bright, shiny ball of fire. All right, so red, whatever. That's pretty boring. So before I ever start doing effects, I make sure that my post-process stuff is all finished and done with for my game, or at least to some degree, just so I could start getting a better feel of what my stuff's going to look like. So when you start adding additive shaders, they're going to play a lot with your bloom effects and things like that. So I want to make sure that's on there. So at the very least, I'm going to take my camera. I'm going to add a couple things like bloom. So we'll just add Unity standard bloom just so I get a little bit of color. So bloom, I could adjust the intensity, how much things bloom out. The threshold is at what color value they have to be, or tone value they have to be before they start blooming. So 0 or whatever, they're gonna bloom, everything's gonna bloom. If I do, point whatever. So we're gonna get a little bit of bloom in there. All right, and the reason I say work in your scene view or in your game view, because you look at this, you're like, yeah, it's a ball, and then you look over here, you're like, oh, it's a glowy ball. Very different. So that's, my sun here. So let's talk about particles instead. This is kind of what it's about. I'm going to go create a particle system. I'm going to drag it onto my sphere, and I'm going to zero it out just so it's right in the center of my sphere. Let's make this a sphere as well. I'll make the radius like that. So we start looking here already, getting some glows and things like that. Let's I'm just going to add an effects material on here, just so I can play around with it. So it'll be particles additive. Right now they're just little circles, which is fine. So I'm going to turn them to stretched billboard, just so I start getting some really funky looking stuff there. And they're really big, so I'm probably going to change the size. Oops. Between two constants, so 0.2 and 0.5. Maybe that's too tiny for what we're doing. All right, and we have a lifetime. Probably do a couple variations on that as well. So 4 and whatever. Maybe spawn more of these, since if this is a sun, it's going to be my, whatever, just in my scene there. This is still pretty, these are still pretty big, so, oops, that's my speed. Probably gonna slow these down anyways. And size, oh, right between constants. No wonder I was changing the speed before, no wonder these weren't changing. There we go. Get some various sizes. So I already don't like that they're popping away, so I'm going to do a color over a lifetime. All right, just start letting them fade. Maybe let them be solid particles for a little longer. Maybe I'll change my circle selection to even like this hex shape, just get some harder edges by default, right? I could do like a custom one if I want to, but hex is okay. Right, maybe I could stretch these out a little more. All right, all depends on the kind of look you're going for. Right, if you're going for something very godly like that, that's cool. You could do, you know, a lower. And you can start getting kind of like, you know, beams kind of coming out. I could do a randomized stripe color too, so maybe I get a little bit of orangey in there. Right, start getting a little bit of that. And then maybe I could do like a size over a lifetime if I want them to grow. Let's see how that starts looking. Right, or do I want them to shrink as they go? I think for now I might just want them to grow, but shrinking might actually look kind of cool too. There we go. So again, if I looked at it in my scene view, looks interesting. Definitely looks a lot better in my my game view. So again, always look at your game view. Don't spend too long without actually looking at it in your game properly. So yeah, this is looking, you know, okay. I would probably do another particle system. I just duplicate this one, where I would just do billboards. Right, and then I would probably do 2 and 3. 3, 2 and 3. Limit the velocity over the lifetime as well, so they kind of stop. I might just have to make them longer. Right, and I can limit this to 0.8. There we go. Size, maybe even a little smaller. Just a little je ne sais quoi in there, you know. If you want both of these to be visible together, just make this particle system a child of that one. Holy shit, what happened? Cool. That's gnarly. Oh, is that affecting this one? Let's do 4 and 5. There we go, change some speed around, right? Maybe dampen this a little bit more. There we go, so now you get a little bit of floof in there. Alright, just a little bit of different floofiness. We get those guys. Those guys might be a little fast too, so you might want to, 0.5 and 0.8 or something. But then maybe you want to give them a longer lifetime. All right, maybe not. Maybe that's too many. Or you just do a little bit less of them. It all depends on the kind of look you're going for. 8, maybe 9. I don't really want them like escaping on their own. Cool. And you could always, you know, change around their scale. Yeah, if you want it huge or tiny, you do a cool effect of traveling through space as well. If you wanted to do, you know, I'm doing it. Oops. There you go. Let me traveling through space. Bam. Millennium Falcon. All right. Sorry, a little off track. All right, so we have that. That's pretty cool. I would probably still play around with some post-process settings, right? Get some different, like I have my bloom and stuff, but you might want to, you know, change around your bloom thresholds. You might want to add some other post-process effects on there too to change that up. A couple other things you could do as well is you could just add some more objects in here. So if you add another sphere, make that a child, zero it out. All right, let's take a look at that. Let's throw another material on there. All right, so right now it's a little bigger than my sun. So what I could do, I used this one before. I used the Effects Stained Glass shader that comes with Unity. And this is, I'm going to take away the tint color. And throw in a normal map in here, just something wobbly. Up the distortion, you can start adding some really cool distortion effects. We have a script that lets you rotate. There's a couple that come with Unity as well, so we have a rotate independent. But now if I hit play, I didn't pre-warm my particles. That was my bad. There we go. So I added just like a rotation to that outer sphere, and it just gives you like a little bit of a ripple. Right? You can adjust how big that ripple is, and kind of what it does. Right? You adjust the scale of this thing. So if you wanted like streaky dudes, you could do that. Make it, you know, rotate really quickly. Yeah, so what is that? That's on the Y, so let's make this like 22 and hit play on that. So now it's rotating just this way. Thing I was talking about, particle systems is going to pre-warm these things. So you saw how I had to wait a bunch of seconds for these God rays to like come out. I don't really want that for my final game. I don't want a player approaching the sun while it's like heating up. So I put pre-warm, and then it'll just start off right in the middle of its particle system. There we go, so we have that guy. Still not happy with like the transition around here, so I might make another particle system. I know I'm doing this in play mode. I don't recommend you ever doing that because it sucks. So I may make like a 0.5 and a 1. I might make my sphere bigger and emit these things from the shell. I might not like it in play mode, so let me just redo that. There we go, emit from shell, do 1, and 1. Oh, kind of looks like depth of field now. Lower the speed. So my distortion is going to have some sorting issues, which something you'll have to work out with your engine kind of stuff, depending on how you're doing your sorting. That is your problem, not mine right now. So for these guys, I might just make them, oops, definitely don't make them distortion because that looks crazy. Particles, additive, and turn them into just some floofs. And that way I kind of just get a little bit of a buffer there. Not quite happy with that either. A lot of time it just takes some playing around with. This kind of looks like there's a bunch of nuclear explosions going off on the thing. There we go. Yeah, I could use something like this. Right, these can kind of be explosions or like solar flares. Right, maybe I make the size smaller over a lifetime, or have them grow and then come back in. Right, and I definitely want them to rotate over a lifetime. And I want the sizes to be variable. 22 seconds is a lot. No wonder there's so many spawning. Maybe that's too big. Change the color of them a little bit. Maybe start speed will be 0.1, 0.2, and then I'll limit their velocity. And then their pivot I'll definitely want to keep close to the center. Maybe I do not want their, sorry, it wasn't their speed that I wanted. It's their lifetime. Nope, too short. Alright, so that's too much. Maybe I'll start different rotation. Maybe that's too much. There you go. Well, it's not perfect, but you can start kind of getting an idea of what this might start feeling like. 4 and 6, 5 and 6. And I probably want them to spawn faster and then take their time coming back in. And then I probably want them to also fade, which they are, but maybe fade a little faster this time. There we go, that's starting to feel a little better. And I could always decide if I want like a crap ton of them, right? Or if I just want, a little bit here and there, which I kind of like better. Still not overly happy with these giant spiky guys, so. That's a little better. There we go. So not the perfect sun, but definitely something you can start working with, right? Trying to break up that edge, maybe get some better particle systems to start blending in with some of this stuff. All right, let's get we can make this bigger. Right, emit from shell. just get like a general glow over top of this. Right, getting just like kind of a bleed through there. There you go, it's starting to look a little better. Anyways, that's kind of my process of making whatever. This is kind of the suns that we use. So that pop in I'll have to deal with. Making sure that this transparency is different. What am I using for my base sphere? It's just a standard material. It should sort a little better than that, but you know, this guy might just have to be a little bigger, which isn't a bad thing either. And we hit play, we see it spinning a little, doing its thing. And bam, we have a sun. It's okay, it's not the best thing. It's definitely not as nice as the ones we made in Lost Orbit, but it's kind of like a quick crash course in that. Just to show you how to kind of combine different particles, different elements in Unity to kind of blend and make some nice, glowy, crazy looking crap. So hopefully it helps you guys. Thanks a lot.